Hello everyone, it's your bud. Today we're going to be talking about Trigger, also known as the Trigger, or referred to as Weak Quirk Improvement Drug. It is a drug from the TV show My Hero Academia that gives a boost to an individual's quirk, simultaneously weakening their sense of reason. So for these things that I don't know too much about, as usual, we're going to be reading through the wiki to get a good understanding of the topic. Originally, the Trigger was created to massively enhance the power and potency of weak quirks. However, it was soon used for criminal activities, so it was banned in many countries, including Japan, becoming an illegal product with which gangsters and drug dealers around the world traffic. And I guess this was not necessarily because of the enhancing power of the drug, but most likely due to the instability and weak sense of reasoning that it causes. The Trigger is produced in different regions of the world, so its quality can vary from one place to another depending on producer. Those produced in Asia are usually of poor quality and their effects only last a few minutes, while the Trigger produced in America can last an hour or two. So only a few minutes in Asia or an hour or two if they're produced in America. Trigger addicts suffer a side effect after the use that changes their tongue's color to black. And this very much reminds me of, I think it's called Red Eye. It's from Cowboy Bebop. There's a drug that people take there, and it also has a noticeable effect that you can notice physically. But I really noticed the difference between the mental instability and the increased power and speed that's granted by Red Eye in Cowboy Bebop and Trigger, or the Trigger, in My Hero Academia. Generally, the Trigger is injected into the body, but it has been possible to develop a variant that only needs to be ingested to work. Although it is less effective than the other form, it lacks the psychotropic element. Very interesting. It lacks the psychotropic element, so it doesn't make you go crazy and insane. That's very interesting. So if it's less effective, then maybe this is something that could be used just for people that have weak quirks and need to enhance it. But it really does remind me a lot of the Red Eye drug and how it makes you go crazy and all of that from Cowboy Bebop. In Japan, there is a criminal organization known as Villain Factory by the police, which shows a special interest in the effects caused by the Trigger. Its agents carry out numerous experiments with the product, hiding uppers mixed in that causes its consumers to turn into instant villains and go rampage. I don't know why they'd want to do that to their consumers, and then they distribute it through the streets between junkies and thugs, which causes many problems. I mean, yeah, it would cause a lot of problems. Then they collect all data to steady, as well as blood samples from the consumers. Okay, that's kind of interesting. So they don't need to have like a lab and to kidnap people and then enhance their bodies or whatever. They just need to sell their drug to anyone on the streets and then monitor those people to see what happens. That's very interesting. So they don't have to have a big hideout. Any single junkie or any single person who uses the Trigger is kind of working for them, even though they don't know it. Later, the mastermind behind the Trigger abducts some of these instant villains that showed particular promise and turns them into next level villains, altering and enhancing their bodies to make them able to withstand massive amounts of Trigger. This leaves them drastically and indefinitely altered from the dosage. So it's very similar to Bane from Batman, how he's always being like pumped full of drugs. But it also reminds me of the Nomu, how the Nomu are physically altered and scientifically altered to be the best host that they can be for the certain powers gifted to them by All For One. So Trigger hosts are changed to be next level villains, while the All For One hosts are changed to be Nomus. And in order to obtain funds for their experiments, the Shiosaki is engaged in trafficking with this drug with other criminal organizations. And I mentioned the Shiosaki and their leader, Overhaul, in one of my other videos, so go check that out if you want to know more about them. So there are a few users of Trigger, or a few users of the Trigger in My Hero, and I don't know all the names, but there is a list here of the people that use it. There's a minor villain that amplifies his blades, sprouting a great number of very long blades from his body. He's capable of controlling them, sprouting and retracting them, as well as focusing them into one place to reach great destructive power. They became sharp enough to nick Ejiro Kirishima's hardening. So he's the one that has the red hair and does his skin turns like to stone. But even then, with Trigger added, the blade villain was able to cut through the hardening. Joy Irinaka of the Shiosaki amplifies his mimicry, allowing him to affect much larger than the physical area of a refrigerator, which is his normal limit, and to merge with and manipulate an entire underground facility in preparation for the hero's invasion, which is kinda neat. Enrique Katsukami of the Shiosaki amplifies his vitality stealing, allowing him to use it without making physical contact with others, absorbing stamina by simply inhaling. And Ending amplifies his ability to control any lane lines painted on the road. And for those who don't know about Ending, his power is literally controlling the road lines that are painted on the road. It's the stupidest power in the whole show. I still don't understand it at all. Like, does he control the road? Does he control anything under a line? It says he controls the lane lines painted on the road. So it's not like he even controls the road, just the painted lines. It's so weird. So Raptakage amplifies his lizard appearance to a strong pterodon physiology quirk. Mayuro Tucci, who appeared to have a small flame in place of his hair, is amplified to become a powerful flaming rock golem. He looks pretty cool in his other form. Soga Kugizaki amplifies his spike to a porcupine physiology quirk that sprouts stronger spikes all over his body. Every single one of these names I'm getting wrong on the first try. Mario Kugutsu is transformed into a massive four-armed giant. Akira Iwaku, whose quirk is amplified to hardening transformation type quirk with additional enlargement and super strength abilities. Did they gain additional abilities to their quirk that were not able to be manifested? So like, maybe they thought their quirk was only a hardening quirk, but then it was amplified to a hardening transformation quirk with enlargement and super strength that they maybe didn't even know they had. Toru Unagizawa, I can't get any of these names right, whose quirk made him somewhat resemble an eel, was amplified to an electric eel physiology quirk with a large eel's body and small human limbs. I actually really like his design. It's really unique. He also has greatly enhanced mobility, being able to bounce off the walls of buildings and to launch himself into the air and even keep up with Pop Step's leap, which is pretty impressive. Unagizawa was later abducted by Queen, that's a killer bee, right? And seemingly injected with several doses of trigger over an extended period of time, which lastingly modifies his body into a large electric eel with slippery skin. But this time with very muscular human limbs. He's able to discharge electricity, but doing so renders him unconscious. That's pretty funny. It's unknown whether this modification is permanent. Oh, that's such a shame. So he got like double triggered, and eventually his second trigger like permanently changed his body, and now he like goes unconscious and faints whenever he uses his electricity. That's kind of interesting. Queen meaning Kuin, but I just Quinn, Hachisuka, who was not initially a user herself, utilizes her quirk in a specialized delivery system to infect dozens of quirk-using citizens in order to effectively test drive Trigger's potency while in use. Later, she uses it to transform her body, strengthening her and allowing her to use an electric quirk. Ichiro Hota, a Trigger dealer, had his quirk amplified to become a humanoid grasshopper, which also does look kind of neat. A civilian from Chapter 5 titled Illegals, who was amplified to gain blades on his fingers and shoulders, as well as muscle enhancements and enlargements. And a few more civilians. One was amplified to release electricity from her eyes. One was amplified to release black fluid from his palms of unknown powers. Another was amplified to catch on fire. Another one was amplified to become very large and round with dark skin and lighter markings. His body also released streams of water from several points. So some very, very, very random quirk enhancements. However, it seems like the just turning people to catch on fire or release black fluid from their palms or electricity from their eyes. Now, when they were amplified to do that, does that mean that, I mean, it could mean that this is a potentially brand new power that they didn't know they had within them that is being first shown, or this could just be amplifying the already there electricity in their eyes or black fluid from their palms or being able to catch on fire. However, that would be very, very scary if all of a sudden you were just randomly given a drug, just catch on fire and combust. So there's a few different things about Trigger that make it quite interesting. One of them is the fact that multiple producers of Trigger have multiple varieties that can last up from a few minutes all the way up to an hour or two. and then some also have the psychotropic element that they purposefully add in, like the Villain Factory, and some have the just ingested form where they don't need to inject it, and that is less effective, but it doesn't have that psychotropic element. So there's some that are safe for your mind, some that'll make you go extra crazy, some that'll last for a few hours, some just for a few minutes. So depending on who that person was that just burst into flames or whatever, that could be from a really low quality one that lasts a few minutes, or they could have just burst into flames for hours. But it's very interesting, and it really reminds me of Red Eye from Cowboy Bebop, especially the picture of the vials. The whole thing of the vials looks exactly the same as the one that Spike was holding, and I just get a Red Eye thing with the insanity and I don't know, the way that they just go berserk when they use it. But it still could be very interesting, and it's interesting to see that it was immediately made illegal. The whole thing about My Hero Academia, the more I learn about it, the more I learn that there's so many rules and that people can't just use their quirks even if they want to. So that means that something that enhances quirks is technically illegal because you can only use your powers if you've been given permission to by like the government. It's very interesting to see how trigger can really be one of the things that upsets and maybe brings a whole new world order into being. I know a lot of this is already past, but you gotta always have these clues, and they can come back at any time. When something this powerful exists in the world of My Hero Academia, you always have to keep your eye open for it to be coming back with a vengeance, or a new type, or a new producer. Who knows, maybe this was part one of a plan, or maybe the drug hasn't even fully been finalized into its final form yet. So that was the trigger, or trigger, from My Hero Academia. There are many people that use it, and I believe there are even some vigilantes who will use it regardless of the fact that it can make them go a bit berserk if they feel the situation is worth it. I think there are some vigilantes who will choose to utilize it, although I would assume that many of those would choose the ones that lack the psychotropic element. So can it be used for good, or is it only something that causes evil? That is the trigger from My Hero Academia. Thanks for watching, everyone. Leave this video a like if you want to know more about my hero. I'm feeling pretty down today, so sorry I couldn't do a really in-depth dive into this, but I'm probably going to need to have a few shorter videos in the next few days and just catch up on some sleep, because man, I am just dead tired. But thanks for watching. Subscribe for daily videos. I make a new video every single day on this channel, no matter how tired I am. And leave any questions or suggestions in the comments below, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Thanks for watching.